So she always used to tell me there's a saying that for every 2 Croatians, there's 3 political parties. So just in case you're in a conversation with someone and you're, oh my God, we're on the same side, oh quickly, let's switch to the other political party, just so that I can disagree with you. So there's this real culture of, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it shows the point that if you think about how our societies are taught and how our societies are brought up, we're not taught to collaborate. We're not taught to work with each other. We're taught very much competition. You need to be the best. Right the way from school, you have to be the best in class. You have to be the best. Yeah, you need to be better than everyone else. And when you're at work, you need to push everyone else down and exploit them so that you can rise up to the top. And yet, we all know, that system is totally failed. It's created so much tension between people. Those people who, in their hearts, they love people. They love each other. They want to communicate. They want to be with each other. They don't have a heart to compete. And they are lost in this world. And many of them, because they can't find their place, they go crazy. I was like that. At school, I used to, when I was young, I quite literally used to pray to God, saying, why did you put me on this planet? Why did you put me here? Surely this is the wrong place. I could see how beautiful this world could be, and yet people are just, can't you see that that's just so, that's wrong, why? And I just couldn't understand it. And when my teachers tried to tell me things, because my father taught me to tell the truth. So when teachers told me, that's rubbish, that's nonsense, that's not how the world is. And so they're telling me to tell the truth. They're telling me that, and basically when I was speaking the truth, my reward for constantly telling the truth was to be physically beaten. I'm old enough to have got the cane and the slipper and the blackboard rubber over the head and the rulers over the knuckles. And so every time I spoke the truth, I'd be physically beaten. And they tell me if someone swears at me and I punch them, that I can't hit that person for abusing me, but they can abuse me when I speak the truth. What is this? So I just couldn't understand this school system. So at the age of 12, I mentally left. I actually worked out how the school system worked and how I could get a mark in the morning, go home. I actually sit in a park first. I wait for the truant officers to go by. Then I knew it's safe to walk home. Come back at lunch, get my mark, back to the park, back home. So pretty much for 5 years, I was hardly ever at school, which is a good thing. So basically, I was dyslexic. And I couldn't read and write properly, and everyone just called me stupid. And in the end, I actually thought, okay, fine, let's let everyone think I'm stupid. That suits me, at least I don't have to put effort. But actually, I was really smart because I really worked out how the system worked and how I could use the system to my advantage. And it was actually, I remember one of my father's friends, I think maybe I was almost 30 years old when we got talking, and one day he said, "You're actually very intelligent." It was like such a surprise to him. So, getting back to permaculture. Okay, the reason why I say it really gave me an advantage in the world is because I wasn't, these filters that the society puts on everyone, I never got those. So I don't see the world through these filters that cloud people's ability to see what the reality actually is. So I think a lot of my permaculture course is actually helping people to take away those filters, to say it's safe. It's safe, you can take that one down. You don't need that one anymore. It hasn't taken care of you. It isn't bringing you about, you're not able to shine your true beauty by having that filter. So let's take it down. And now let's see, how do you see the world now? So society is basically teaching us to compete against each other. If you look at, we're all aware of Darwin's quotes about survival of the fittest.
That's not Darwin, that's social Darwinism. So Darwin has nothing to do with this.
Exactly. I mean, I've never read it because I'm dyslexic. But what I've been told is that in The Origin of Species, he mentions survival of the fittest twice. I say I've never read it, but this is what I've been told. Okay, but what I've been told is he mentions love and cooperation 192 times. He talks about how nature, not how nature competes, there's an element of competition, but he talks infinitely more about how nature cooperates with each other than he talks about competition. So, that's what I've read other people who've read it, and that's what they say. Okay, but that principle of competition is what's been used to, to try and drive our societies forward. And so, basically, all we've ever known through the media, through our schools, is how to compete, how to compete against each other, how to try and win. And we see where that's led to. That's led to mass exploitation. Exploitation of people that you know, exploitation of people in other far-off parts of the world, which you're never ever going to see. Exploitation of resources, and it's ugly. It's ugly, and it's not serving us. It's absolutely not serving us. Whereas if you actually look at how nature takes care of itself, it takes care of itself through cooperation. If you just think about your own body, how many different bacteria, is there any biologists here, or I don't know what they even classify them, anyone who knows about bacteria and things? I don't know how many different foreign bodies are actually inside of you, bacteria, which if they did not exist in your bowel flora, etc., etc.
2 or 3 kilograms of bacteria.
2 or 3, yeah, you're she probably, yeah.
So, there is about 2-3 kilograms of bacteria in your body, which accounts to several thousand species. And if we look at these genetic terms, actually we could say that we contain human DNA in traces. Because there is about 23,000 human genes,
Okay.
and the bacterial pool is about 23 million genes. So, who we are?
Yeah, what are we? I mean, the key thing that I'm trying to get across there is we would not exist if it wasn't for the cooperation of all these different bacterias and entities. And the same goes for the rest of the world. The rest of the world would not exist if it wasn't for the cooperation. I know, if anyone gets a chance, there's a really amazing documentary called How to Grow a Planet. If you get a chance to watch it, it's really amazing. How to Grow a Planet. And it shows how the world, how the first bacteria came, how the first, and why they were, the planet was a purple planet, because the first bacteria was actually purple. And the next generation of bacteria that grew, and maybe I'm even using the wrong terminology, I'm not a scientist, I don't understand all that stuff, but the next entity that grew became green because all the purple light was filtered and the only thing that got through was green. And then as they started to grow all the algae, etc., etc., this documentary shows how they basically eventually came onto land and started to become plants, and etc., and all the collaboration between that and how it created oxygen and blah blah blah, all these amazing small little things that happened, that all through this cooperation created this most amazing planet that we're living on. And maybe a slight tangent from that, but if you think about how incredible it is that this planet exists. How incredible is it? All the right things in the right places, with all the different ways of protecting the atmosphere from all the sun's rays, etc., etc., the water, the oxygen, and everything, which actually affords us life. How amazing is that? We take it for granted. But actually, if you think about how human activities, through our human activities, we are destroying that very subtle balance that allows us to live on this planet. How crazy, I mean, what kind of organism destroys the very host that gives it life, that gives it the opportunity to live? A virus. Think about it. So if we carry on living the way we're living, we're pretty much like a virus on this planet. If we don't change, and this is the one thing that permaculture really brings for me, is it brings a chance. It brings us an opportunity to start rethinking, redesigning, to actually bring about that change. Has anyone ever heard of The Work That Reconnects by Joanna Macy? Really, really beautiful work. Really amazing stuff. My background is I used to be a really, really, very, 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 very angry activist. I used to shout and scream, get beaten up by the police and all those kind of things, and shout and scream at everyone because they were wrong. You're wrong for that, you're wrong for that, corporation, you're wrong, everyone's wrong. You know, nothing is right on this planet. I used to be, really, and still a bit of that in me. And I realised that I was defining myself by what I was against. I was against Nestle, I was against Shell, I was against the British government, I was against this person, I was against the world. But what was I standing for? That's what was wrong, but what do I actually stand for? What is it that I'm doing right? It's easy to point and tell everyone else that they're wrong, but what am I doing right? So that's where permaculture came in. That's where permaculture then started giving me the answers and the solutions to actually start making a difference and start doing something. So, all right, getting back onto topic. So, what I realised is a lot of people are creating really amazing permaculture projects with really nice houses, with great food growing systems, etc., but their skills in working with people was disastrous. So I can probably take you to 20 plots in Croatia where they've tried to create a community and every single one of them is empty, or there's one dictator who says, you can do anything, come to my eco-village, it's lovely, everything's free, nice and easy, do anything you like, it's wonderful. Just don't do that. No, don't ever do that again. Did you ask me for permission to do that? You know, everything's free, it's fine, it's wonderful. No, don't even dare think about doing that though. And it's like real heavy dictatorship. Is that familiar? Have you seen projects like that? So the social skills for creating these amazing projects is just massively missing. And when I started creating my first eco-village, we started mapping out, we made a mind map of all the things we wanted to do and how we were going to do it. So growing food, easy. Building houses, no problem. Making grey water treatment systems, making photovoltaic panels and wind turbines, no problem. Earning money, simple. All those kind of tangible things, easy, no problem. Dealing with people, conflicts, we kind of looked at each other. I know, I've heard of this non-violent communication, but what the fuck is that? And we kind of just looked at each other and there was a big void in our knowledge. Because all the other things I'd worked out myself. I'd worked out because of my imagination and I could see it, but I never worked out people. I never worked out how people work and how they... And so, at that time, I was really lucky. I moved back to England, and the project pretty much came to an end for various reasons, mainly because I was getting divorced and the land was owned by my ex-wife. So I moved back to England. It was just at the time that Transition Town was starting. So Transition Brixton, which is one of the longest, most vibrant transition towns in London, was just kicking off, literally 2-3 months old. So I got involved there, and I was trying to grab all the different tools that people were using for creating community projects, and I started helping to create lots of community food growing projects. I think in the end we mapped out something like, and we had some kind of hand in something like 30, 40 different projects around Brixton. It was really amazing. I think there was over 150 community growing, food growing projects just in Lambeth alone, so one part of London. Really incredible stuff. So I was learning all these tools, and it was great, all dragon dreaming and and all this wonderful stuff. But still, projects there was still tension. There was still something. There was egos. There was all kinds of things that people bring into projects that kept making them kind of fall apart. And so then I started to look at, well, actually, at that point, people kept coming to me, oh, Rakesh, you've got to hear about this sociocracy. Oh my God, it's like, wow. Okay, great, what is it? What is it? What is it? Oh, it's blah, blah, blah. What? Oh, yeah, it's blah, blah, blah. Huh? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I can see you're really passionate about this, but I have no idea what the hell you are talking about. So for almost 4 or 5 years, people kept talking gibberish to me about sociocracy. 10 minutes, thank you. They kept talking gibberish to me about sociocracy. I could see they really loved it for some reason, but I had no understanding of what it was. So it wasn't until, I don't know, about 2 or 3 years ago that I was in Denmark, and one guy gave me a 10-minute talk on sociocracy. He explained consent decision-making. And it was like, oh my God. Wow! So that means that if someone does this, then that can't happen. If someone tries this, then that's not possible. And I, just from that 10-minute conversations, I could see how every single community project that I worked on that failed or fell apart or struggled, it had a solution for every single issue. And it's like, why didn't someone tell me about this before? Oh my, this is incredible. So I immediately went to study it, and I organised for 2 people, one person to do 2 courses back to back, one in London, one in Holland, and pretty much, and they were like 5 days apart or a week apart, and pretty much by the time he finished teaching the second one, the following weekend I was already practicing and teaching it. Because it was so logical. It is so obvious.
10 minutes.
10, thank you. So it's so logical, it is so obvious, it is so clean that it just completely made sense. My background is as an IT consultant, and so very logical, I can take really complex systems and really break them down into nice simple functions and what have you, and so it's a bit like nature, so I use the same principles of how I understand, how to build a fault-tolerant computer system. So I used to design computers that never ever crashed. Components would die, but the machines would always stay up and running. So big banking systems and all kinds of stuff. So for me that's really simple, really easy to understand, because I can compartmentalise things and break things down, pretty much like nature. If you think about all the infinite possibilities and things that happen in nature, how do you begin to understand that? You need to break it down, simplify it. So in the same way that I can break down nature and understand how to simplify it, compartmentalise it, so that I can get them to work and understand how they interact. I can use to do that with computers. I could also do that with social, people, and how people understand each other, talk to each other, and communicate with each other. So with sociocracy, which we'll talk about after the break, you can be really clear, really precise, and you can really bring people together so that you all have one common aim. So, the first 2 minutes of sociocracy and I'll explain it again later, is the key thing is you all first of all come together collaboratively to decide what is it you want to achieve. what's our vision? What is our collective vision? Once we understand what our collective vision is, then every single decision we make is based around how do we get there? Is the next step that we're going to take going to help us to get in that direction, or is it going to take us far away? And if it's going to take us away from the project, that's not necessarily a problem, as long as there is a nice pathway to get us back again. So we can take nice scenic routes, but does it still get us to our end goal in a way that is good enough for now, that is safe enough to try? Or is it going to take us so far away from our goal that we're never going to get there? And it's that simple. So now, decision making is based around logic. Does this proposal get us to that end point, or does it take us away from our end goal? And the other quick simple thing I'll do before we take a break is we're never ever looking to make the perfect answer, the perfect solution. If you imagine, I mean, how many people here make compost? Yeah? What's the best way to make compost? Come on, the best way to make compost.
I have several.
I mean, do you think we will ever, how long do you think it will take, and how many black eyes do you think there will be by the end of this conversation? There's no way we will ever, you know, I mean, so rather than trying to find the best way, why try to achieve something that we know is impossible? We will never ever agree on the best way to do something. So in sociocracy, what we do is we find the highest common denominator that we all feel, if we take this step, it will help us to get to our end goal. So can we maybe say of all the people who make compost, for every handful of brown, we put in 1 handful of green?
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, we're all happy with that? That's the kind of common, let's not go into putting lemons into our compost, or banana skins, let alone cooked food. I put cooked food in my compost. You know, that's too risky. Yeah, most people will disagree with me, but I still make compost. And you know, but the first step is not to go down the route of being so radical, because other people go, no, that's not possible. Everything I know says you do not put lemon peels into compost. Bananas, oh my God, what are you doing? Cooked food. So why try to set the bar, you know, why try to make something perfect when we're never ever going to agree on that? So let's get the highest common denominator, and then, tell you what, now that we've got this, you know, so what does it take to get the project going first? To take the first safe step that will help us to get to our end goal. Once we've taken that first safe step, does anyone mind if I just experiment with this little one over here, where I just play a little bit with making some, putting some cooked food in it, and we just see how it goes. Does anyone object to that? Just try. But mostly we're still going to handful of brown, handful of green, but just one where we just experiment. Any objections to that?
Correct.
And then when they see it works, when they see there's no rats, there's no mice, when they see that it still makes good compost, then maybe we can see, well, do we want to make a few more of these? And so piece by piece, you, through confidence, through experience, you can evolve the projects. I think with that,